This is Mary Kelly with Top Secret Leadership. In today's episode, we talk about goal setting and how you can level up your goals. When I was teaching, I had a young lady who thought she could never run. She looked at other people who ran a lot and she thought, well, I'm just too slow. I don't have the body build for it. My parents told me I wasn't very athletic growing up. And she was dissuaded from ever just getting outside and running or jogging. Some of her friends who were runners had signed up for a marathon, and they asked her if she would sign up with them. Now, this is a young lady who I was pretty sure had never run more than maybe a couple blocks her whole life. But she was in her early 20s and pretty healthy, and her friend said, it's really not that hard. You just tie on your tennis shoes and you keep going. As she started to run, she realized that most of the obstacles of her even getting out to run were mostly in her own head. She had set her own boundaries that caused her to think she couldn't do something when in fact she'd never really tried. And once her friends said, hey, do this with us, they said, look what you get. You get a medal at the end and you get a t-shirt. And I know that sounds crazy, but that t-shirt and that medal was something she thought she would never be able to do because she'd been told since she was a little girl that she wasn't athletic and she couldn't run. It took other people saying, look, it's not that hard. We do it all the time. You can do this. Just start. For her to figure out how to level up her goals. I talked to that young lady, and you know what? She did the marathon. Now, she had never run more than 8 miles before that 26-mile jaunt. And she confessed to me, she said, you know what? It started to hurt. She said, after about 8 miles, there was part of my brain that was wondering if I could finish. And if there had been a truck driving around or a van or something I could have hopped on and not finished, I probably would have considered it. But she said at that one point, at that halfway point in the marathon, she realized the only way back was running. And once she realized that that was the only way back, something changed in her brain. And she realized, you got to do it. So sometimes we have goals that don't challenge us enough. And in her case, having no choice at all but keep going was the determining factor. Now, the good news is she finished that marathon. She got the t-shirt and she got that medal. And for her, that 13-mile point was where she mentally leveled up. When it comes time to having goals that help you overall, it's important to make sure that those goals are consistently progressive. By that, I mean they're stepping stones to greater success. If you would like to embrace more challenging goals, take a look at this 5-step process to make sure that your goal planning results in the success you want. Step number 1, think about what matters most. Before you jump into any huge goal-setting strategy, it's important to think about what matters most to you and no one else. What is your top priority? What do you want to accomplish? What does it look like to live a life without regrets? Many people start off by looking at their goals from restrictions from a monetary perspective. Sometimes they find that when they get that raise that they've been working for, it doesn't bring them any more happiness or success. What's most important to you is making sure that you structure your goals around your key outcomes. Step 2, think long-term and plan short-term. Thinking long-term allows you to see the big picture, finishing the marathon, so that you can set short-term goals that feed and promote and foster those long-term goals. It's highly effective to plan short-term goals like just run for 2 miles because it makes sure that you'll actually get them done. Each short-term goal achieved one by one brings you closer to what you want. Step 3, use key results. No goal setting is complete without key results. Key results are the action steps that you need to take to reach those goals. For example, if you want to save $5,000 for next year's vacation, what are the key results you need to do to make that happen? What can you set up to find an extra $27.40 every single day for the next year? What do you need to do for this to happen? Maybe bring your lunch to work instead of eating out. Maybe you work an hour of overtime every day. Maybe you ask for a raise. Maybe you spend weekends at home instead of going out. Constantly ask, what steps do I need to take today to reach those goals? Step 4, Think 10 times bigger. Thinking bigger makes a bigger impact. For example, you sometimes hear investment bankers talking about percentages, finding 1% better here, 5% better here. Small percentages work for them, but the average person may not see those actual measurable benefits from those low numbers. Instead, challenge yourself to think 10 times bigger. We oftentimes don't think it's just one of anything that matters too much. Oh, it's just one donut. Multiply that by 10. If I ate 10 donuts, would that matter? Everything we do matters. Small actions lead to big consequences. Step 5, think ahead. Make a constantly progressive goal that moves, requiring you to think ahead. Now, understandably, sometimes you can't think about all of the outcomes of a particular situation. In the military, we have to plan for constant contingencies. So, for example, when I travel for work, I carry 2 computers, 4 dongles, backup chargers for computers I don't even own. Contingencies and planning ahead means making sure that small delays or small crises don't become big crises because we've planned ahead. When we expect change, we are more resilient and negative circumstances do not bother us as much. Thinking ahead allows us to plan for every situation. You can plan for likely obstacles and determine the solutions ahead of time just in case those obstacles happen. An obstacle that would otherwise cause other people to stop moving forward for people who plan is not even a detour. So what can you plan for today that makes you more successful both now and in the future? This is Mary Kelly. See you next time.